Welcome to an exciting episode of our Programming Lions podcast. We have our first guest, Patrick Morstad. He is my nephew, but he's also an extraordinary young man. So we're going to cover everything today from faith, friends, role models, motivations, and even some optimism in Gen Z. Quick bio on Patrick. He is a young man in his early 20s, living in Minnesota. He graduated high school a year early. He graduated college a year early with a degree in landscape architecture and design. And now he's currently full-time employed at Precision Landscape and Irrigation. He just bought his first house. I'm going to show you a teaser of some of the things we talked about, and then we're going to get right into it. Let's go.
Your life is the outcome of a series of choices that you have made. No matter what you essentially have no limits except the ones that are imposed on yourself. Like your environmental influences matter. And so when you're picking good friends and you're picking good something I'm like optimistic about society today.
Do you have a girlfriend? Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you.
Our first question for you. So what's your daily routine like?
My daily routine.
Yes.
That's a good question.
Well, if it's a perfect day, I wake up at 4 a.m., take a cold shower, go to the gym for an hour. I come back around 5 to 5:30, usually closer to 5:30. Eat as much food as I can between 5:30 and 6:30. Throw as much food as I can in my lunchbox for work, and then I try to be in the office at work at 6 o'clock. So that's my morning routine.
Wow. And
And
you work?
And then
What's your work schedule like?
From 6 to usually 6 a.m. until usually 6 p.m. It varies depending what job I'm doing, but can go all the way till 8, 9 p.m. or it can be as early as 5 p.m. But then I'm landscaping. So.
Wow. Nice.
What do you do then when you get home between 5 and 8 p.m. or whatever?
Yeah, usually when I get home, if I have a little extra time, I do Bible studies during the week, and so I'll try to do some of my Bible study stuff for that and eat and then go to bed. I try to be in bed around like 8, 9 o'clock if I can. Doesn't always happen that way. Not every day is perfect, but.
Okay.
Any questions, boys? That's a pretty robust routine.
Do you watch any TV shows?
Well, I don't really watch any TV.
Oh, okay. Next.
That doesn't sound like there's much time for it. So I heard a couple of common themes in your routine. One is pretty disciplined work ethic. You get up early, you go to bed early, you got a pretty full jam day.
Mm-hmm.
Food.
It's bulking season currently, so I gotta try to.
Bulking season. Never heard of that.
I gotta try to.
Bulking season?
Bulking season. So most lifters and gym goers have two kind of seasons: a bulking season and a cutting season. Bulking season is when you try to. Well, it depends how you want to do it. Some people are more calculated, and some people just try to eat as much as they can for bulking. So bulking generally, you eat as much as you can, so your body has all the nutrients and proteins and carbohydrates and fats it needs to build muscle. And during cutting season, you tend to eat very little to lose fat, so you can see your sexy body.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Now, you don't have a lot of fat on your body, so when you say bulking and then cutting, what are you going to cut when cutting time comes?
Well, I'm very fortunate genetically. I don't store a lot of fat in my abs. It goes usually to like my back, my legs, and my face. And so I get a little pudgier during the winter season and stuff like that when I'm bulking, but other than that, I'm very fortunate that way.
Nice.
So when does cutting season start?
Generally March-ish. So you have March, April, May, 3 months-ish to kind of cut down a little bit before summertime when you're at the beach, shirts off, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Look shredded.
I got it. Okay. I understand now the cycle of things. What about if you do a spring break trip? Does it change your cutting?
Yeah, you want to kind of like a month before you want to slow down on the bulking a little bit and try to slow down for that.
Next question.
Sure, we can get on to the next question,
Okay,
but I
nice.
think I just wanted to comment that it's a pretty structured routine. That's getting up early, going to bed early, doesn't watch TV. You boys hearing this?
No.
Yeah. Working anywhere between 8 to 12 hours a day. So, with that said, next question, boys. What do you got?
Tell about your profession and why you choose it. Chose it.
So, I have a lot of big goals and dreams in my life, and I think that precision is the perfect way for me, and the quote unquote fastest way for me to get there. And so that's a big reason why I chose my profession. Another big reason I chose it is because my dad owns Precision Landscaping Irrigation. And for me to have the blessing to work with my dad and to be alongside him building something he's building that's awesome. So,
well, it should be noted that your dad is my brother. I've known this guy my entire life. He started this company a while ago. You've been involved with it since you're a kid, and now it's grown and it's a very successful business in the area, and he's expanding into a lot of different things. So, I suppose in a family business, you can stretch your skills and experience and take on responsibility that you might not be able to in another business that you just jump into as an employee, right?
Absolutely. The other options I'd have would be to work for someone else, start at my own, or work with my dad. And so I see a lot of challenges with starting my own, and not they all come with their own challenges. They all do. But I think the best option, the best two would be starting my own or working with my dad. And I think working with my dad far exceeds doing my own. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, starting your own business, you'd have to have capital to get started, and who knows, if your dad's a good guy, maybe give you some profit sharing as part of this.
Maybe someday.
Where do you think your values come from?
My values originally came from like my parents and how I was raised and stuff like that. So my whole upbringing came from like my parents, and then through then my grandma and my grandpa, and then the next people closest to me. And it all kind of went down the stream like that, and they've kind of developed and refined throughout the years with my experiences, etc. And kind of a lot of them now, and as I've learned and grown, I'd say a lot of my values and my morals, they all come from the Bible. And so I think it's really cool to see how just a lot of stuff kind of ties back into that.
Interesting.
Well, that brings up another question I wanted to ask you. I've known you very well for a long time, your whole life, and it's been interesting to see you grow up, and I'm very proud of like how the young man you've become. But I have definitely noticed you've become much more involved in your faith the last several years, and it's really shaped who you are and who you've become, your habits, your discipline, your sense of purpose. Tell me more about how faith drives that for you.
Well, kind of over the years, as I've been learning and growing more in my faith, it's like it all kind of started back when, like in college, I started doing Bible plans, reading the Bible more, and getting more into stuff like that. And like when I'm reading this stuff, it just kind of hit me with like how much of it is true. And it was kind of just a life changer for me to go from reading the Bible, being in the Word, to learning on that, expanding on that to then going into like seminary for a semester to learn even more in there. And you can like the biggest thing is that everything begins and ends with God. And it's so crazy to think how it all ties together that way. And to kind of go for to kind of answer the question a little more directly of how it inspires me, like I believe that the chief end of man is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever, which essentially means that like everything I do, it's for God. And everything I do, it tries to follow those morals and those principles. And it's not just simply like a set of principles. It's like the truth. And so, yeah.
Okay, I love that.
Whoa, that's deep.
It is deep. It is deep.
Very deep.
And just kind of tying this into GSD Nation, our values are integrity, purpose, and discipline. And religion or faith often like gives people this incredible purpose and discipline and an underlying value system, right? And you discussed that a little bit. Do you think that's lacking in broader society today, or how do you see that?
Today in church, there was a verse in First Peter, and it essentially talked about how people are. It's so cool. Like the Bible's written like a couple thousand years ago. Okay, and all of the stuff that it's talking about 2,000 years ago, they're just true today. I want to read I'm going to read the verse quick. So here, First Peter chapter 4, verse 3. For you spent enough time in the past doing what pagans do, which is like essentially at the time like non-believers choose to do, living in debauchery, lust, drunkenness, orgies, carousing, and detestable idolatry. And essentially what that is like drunkenness, like orgies and stuff like that, partying and like worshiping false gods, etc. Like all those things are all things you find today, and I think it's a huge thing. That's kind of I would kind of point towards a lot of the things that we would say are kind of wrong with society today, towards people straying away from the Bible and biblical principles and straying away from God and making things idols that aren't.
Well, it's interesting that things like, I don't know, drugs, alcohol, good times, OnlyFans, pornography, these things have become very easy and accessible for people. Yeah. And what's sort of right, virtuous, difficult is going on the back burner. But things that are easy and they hit that dopamine rush, like people are doing that because it's easy. And sometimes the hard road is the better road, right?
Absolutely.
Max and Will, what do you think? Any comments about what Patrick has shared with us? Well, you don't know too much about debauchery and all of these terms yet.
That's why I don't really have anything to say, because I know nothing about what you guys are saying.
I can simplify it a little bit. One of the so something I'm like optimistic about society today.
Okay.
That's something I'm optimistic about is there's a huge trend towards going to the gym, a huge trend of like right now I think Christianity is kind of trending, okay? So that's both good and bad for a lot of reasons. But Christian trends towards Christianity, the gym, like personal development, self-development, stuff like that. That makes me super optimistic. But at the same time, there's also huge trends towards partying and drinking and sex and drugs and just having fun. Like that's all that people really care about, is how they can just go have fun, live their lives and stuff like that. And that same mindset is also where people spend all of their like from their teenage years all the way through their 20s into their 30s. They spend all their money on partying and stuff like that, and then they end up with credit card debt, and then they blame other people for all their problems and stuff like that. And I think something that's even like a little more frustrating for me at the core is that a lot of these people that are doing all these bad things, they're doing all the good things too. So like they're going to the gym, they say they believe in Jesus, and but then at night, then they're partying and drinking and doing all these things that literally all go against what their values are.
This has been a deep convo, boys. You
I'm
You
still
with us
with
here?
you. I'm
You're
somehow
still
still
with us
with you.
here. But I can't help but wonder, in the lack of religion, in those spaces where religion or faith is not present, it ends up getting replaced, because I believe as human beings, you need something. You need something to believe in, something to fight for, something to have purpose in as human beings. And so, in lieu of a faith like Christianity or maybe something else, you replace it with something like climate change or wokeism or bad ideas. And
Climate change.
and then you see people get just rabid about it. And so I can't help but think that if we could drive a lot of people back to faith and religions that are based in sound, logic, judgment, reasoning, principles, values, that society would come back and be more kind, more supportive, and more giving, and ultimately more productive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're working on here at GSD Nation.
I love it.
We're trying to build a more productive generation. And it starts with us. It starts with these two little clowns.
Hello.
And if we can help promote that kind of behavior, that kind of thought, and share ideas, tactics, strategies, habits, then maybe we can catalyze this thing together,
Absolutely.
Who's a role model that you look up to and has sort of motivated you in your life?
I'll say like, aside from Jesus, someone living today would be I right now I really like Alex Hormozy, and I like a lot of the things he says business wise, and I like a lot of the principles that he gives out too. He's very structured with his thinking and has very solid reasons behind a lot of the things he says.
Yeah.
But I'd say someone who's Grant Cardone too. I'd say Grant Cardone mainly because he has he's his brand 10x, and behind that's something that truly spoke to me a couple years ago when I first started getting into personal development.
Yeah.
And it was 10x to me is essentially like, make your dreams 10 times bigger than what they are now and work 10 times harder to get there. And if you follow that, you can't go wrong. And it's true. And
Like my dream
mhm,
to become a football player.
there we go.
Yeah.
To be
The
rich.
next
It's a lot of people's
So you
dream.
have a Tim Tebow and a Mark Zuckerberg
Yeah, there you go.
or
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Well, so those are a couple great ones, Patrick. Alex Hormozy, he's got a bunch of really good content. I follow him as well. And he gets right to the point. I love that about him. He's got good advice. It's very direct. It's also very honest. Candidly, I'll tell you, like, something I watched of his that gave me a lot of fear as we got into this endeavor with GSD Nation. As you know, I left a pretty good corporate gig to start this with these two kids. And, I felt a calling to it because I see what's happening in society, and I want to be part of the solution of getting people to think productively, build stronger men, stronger society, more productive society, and squash some bad ideas. But ultimately, I was watching Alex in terms of how do you become a successful influencer. And he's like, it just takes years of really, really hard work. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was I thought we'd just make a post and be Mr. Beast tomorrow.
Right.
But what he said is true. Deep down, I knew this. It's going to be just a lot of heads down, hard work, consistency over time, getting a little bit better every single day, and then success will come. Success, outside of some rare cases, doesn't just happen overnight, right? It builds upon itself over time, and you have to be consistent, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to be focused. And so, boys, we talk about this a lot, right?
Oh yeah, a lot.
And so, this business we've started is a great opportunity to live and lead by example as we try to do this together. And so, having guests like you on to validate these claims, Patrick, is great. So
And
yeah,
helpful.
love Alex. But let's come back to 10x, because I had 10x on my list of questions, and I'm glad to hear you mention that. I know 10x has become a pretty big part of your life, and it's becoming a bigger part of my life. You and I went and roomed together at GrowthCon last year.
That was awesome.
Right? That was super fun. It's an amazing event. Here, I'll give a plug. Grant Cardone 10X. Here's what's going to happen. We got GrowthCon this year coming up April 2nd through the 4th in Hollywood, Florida. And it's going to be off the charts. Grant lights it up with the best people, and he speaks as well. Obviously, he's most well known for being an incredible real estate entrepreneur, but he's also built organizations and businesses that help other businesses. He's got programs that help anybody from just an individual with like no money to people with wealth. So there's my plug.
Absolutely.
And I have no affiliate program with 10X yet.
Yeah, hook them up.
Hopefully,
but they have a
soon.
lot of good material. I really enjoyed it last year, and it's been life-changing for you and your father's business. It's really it's 10x's business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think something 10x kind of brought to the business is right away. So one of Grant Cardone's partners with Cardone Ventures is Brandon Dawson. And Brandon Dawson's another huge guy. I listen to his podcast, Building Billions, too. So if you don't listen to that, you definitely should. But I remember Brandon Dawson, one thing he told my dad, like, we're basically stuck for a while at a revenue growth, and Brandon Dawson told my dad that the problem wasn't the business, it was him. And then he had to change in order for the business to change. And that's exactly what happened is my dad changed himself, and then everything's just been going up from there. And it's just a huge mindset shift of like taking responsibility for everything that happens in life. Like there's always something you could have done that could have changed the outcome. Like life is just your life is the outcome of a series of choices that you have made. No matter what you say, there's always something you could have done differently.
Is that a quote?
It is now.
Yeah.
It sounded like a quote from a really famous book or something.
Yeah. Boys, what do you take from that quote? That was a pretty good statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to make it's like
good choices.
Yeah, good choices, bad choices always lead to a different path.
You visited us a couple years in a row on spring break, stayed at our place with some friends. One year, it was a pretty big party.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next year, it was like no alcohol, Bible study, sitting in the sun. A big shift. Tell me, what happened?
Yeah, so that was the first year I was definitely still in a party phase. That was my sophomore year. And then that summer, so that sophomore year of college, I started getting a lot into like I'd already been like this is when I went through like phases with my personal development. Started first physically with like the gym. Then it went on to mentally, and the sophomore year is when I kind of started to hit all of that. is my mental stage of like learning more essentially with like books, etc. And kind of ended up finding Grant Cardone that same year and learning about the 10x rule, and Napoleon Hill has been a huge influence for me then. And so then that whole summer, all I did is at work, I'd listen to Audible, listening to books, going to the gym, started learning about so much stuff. And then, kind of as I started my junior year, I came to Caleb and like, dude, I learned so much. And Caleb's like, me too. And we both shared, and Caleb got got a lot more into his faith and stuff like that. And we'd both been Christians, like casually done stuff, but then we both were trying to like take our lives to the next level and trying to develop more. I'm like, dude, I'll teach you everything I know. You teach me everything you know. And we kind of just swapped. And what happened is Caleb taught me a lot more stuff about Jesus, and then we went on that journey together. And I taught him all this stuff about you essentially have no limits except the ones that are imposed on yourself.
Right.
And I kind of took him through like the journey of like all the books that I started reading and stuff like that. And throughout that year before spring break, got closer to God, and I essentially January 1st, I made a promise to God that I wasn't going to drink for a whole year. And that's what I did. And I stopped drinking, doing things that were holding me back. And all of, all of that year, I didn't do that. So,
Wow.
Wow, that's a lot of discipline.
Discipline.
yeah.
Caleb, boys, you know Caleb pretty
Oh
well,
yeah, we know him.
Fortnite.
right? Good dude, right?
Yeah, I like him.
Super good guy. And this brings up another question that I wanted to ask you, Patrick, which is I've noticed you've surrounded yourself with good people, starting with Caleb, maybe as your best friend or one of your best friends. And of course, his fiance, I think they're going to get married next month, Ashton.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit more about your mindset in terms of who you're surrounding yourself with, why, and how you think through that.
Well, to start it off, like there's an old saying, you're the product of the 5 closest people you surround yourself with. And it's don't care who you are, it's true. And for me, like Caleb is probably my only true like best friend, and I spend most of my time with him, especially right now because he's my roommate. And then it probably goes on to be my parents and probably my sister after that. But um, it it matters, and the people who you surround yourself with, those are the kinds of things you're going to be doing, the kind of people you're going to be listening to, how you're going to speak, how like it all has an influence on your mind. And it like your environmental influences matter. And so when you're picking good friends and you're picking good people, you want to pick people that are going in the same direction as you, that are influenced the same way you are, like same goals, same values. And like there's a Bible verse, a cord of one strand is easily broken, a cord of 2 strands is stronger, and then 3 even better all the more. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
that's not a direct quote, it's something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But
Yeah.
like the more people you have in your life that they can hold you up. It's like
Mm-hmm.
what as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Now that's a direct Bible verse. And like
Ooh, I like that one.
men, like men or women, doesn't matter, generally speaking, you help each other grow, you help each other make each other better. When in college junior year, when I didn't wake up for the gym, Caleb woke up and woke me up.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing for him. With like there's like a phase of like 2 months where I didn't wake up on time, and there's a phase of like 2 months where Caleb didn't wake up on time. And
Yeah.
so it's like, but
It's
we
the
were both
age-old
there.
need for like a workout buddy because you
Yeah.
hold each other accountable, and you're like, "Where were you this morning? Get in here!" So that really works.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
offset each other's motivations, and I saw a great quote recently too. I think it was Chris Wilkes' podcast. At any rate, it was something around if you want to improve something in yourself, go and surround yourself with somebody who's great in that thing.
Yeah.
So maybe it's somebody who's really into fitness, and just by sort of osmosis, you will pull some of this in. Or somebody who eats really well, like me, I probably wouldn't eat as well.
If Mom wasn't here.
Mom is
If Mom
really
wasn't
into
here,
eating
we'd probably
good
be
food.
Yeah, we'd probably be eating maybe McDonald's or Chick-fil-A every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. Who
We're
knows
lucky
what
we have
like.
her.
So, yeah, great stuff. Well, it was great to see that transformation and the commitment to no alcohol for a year. That'd be a tough one.
That's crazy.
But I got to tell you, I found a can of Bang Energy in the fridge from a couple of years ago.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Why do you no
tell
longer
a
drink
secret.
that stuff?
Yeah, why do you no longer drink that stuff? Or do you?
Well, no, I do not. I actually had one not too long ago, just for like the memories, you know, to like try it. You know, when you can taste something, you can kind of picture yourself in your mind where you were at that time, what you were doing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I tried one the other day, and it's still not that good. But the
Rainbow
main,
unicorn?
yeah, least favorite flavor. But yeah, I don't drink it anymore because there's a lot of ingredients in it that aren't as good. And so, as a more pure way to get my caffeine, I stick to just pre-workout now. And so,
Yeah,
that's what I do on the daily.
When you all were here, we had a case of that or something in the fridge, and there's a few left over. I tried one. I thought my heart was going to explode, Patrick. This thing, I had to do push-ups just to calm down. I understand why people like it works, I guess, but I thought my heart was going to literally explode. So I haven't done one since.
Yeah, I tend to get a lot of acne when I drink the stuff, and I think it's kind of a sign that your body doesn't really like what's in it.
Last question I have is, do you have a girlfriend?
No.
What?
No girlfriend.
You have like 5 in the past.
What?
Yeah. I remember,
Not that many.
I remember
You have
like
a girlfriend?
no, I don't. You do. It's short ribs.
Short ribs.
I remember.
Well,
That sounds like another podcast. But anyway, so no girlfriend currently. As you're searching for your future partner in life, what is it you're looking for?
I think I have 3 main things that I'm looking for in my future partner. So if you're listening, I'm looking for.
ladies.
Yeah, she has to love Jesus. Biggest thing, believe in God. Secondly, I want her to be very intelligent. I don't want someone who's kind of ditzy, doesn't really know what's going on half the time, stuff like that. And someone who is driven, like just kind of has the desire to want to do more and be more and loves personal development. And she doesn't necessarily have to be the one doing the like big goals and dreams. If she is, great, but she has to at least want it more for like the family at least, and want to push me to do that if she doesn't want to be the one doing it.
I think good things to look for. So
Yep.
somebody that shares your faith,
driven,
is
intelligent,
driven and intelligent.
Like I'd say those are the huge things. Yeah.
Yeah. You see yourself having a family, a couple of rats like this someday?
Absolutely.
We're rats. Wait, we're rats?
Wait, what?
Well,
What? Not rats?
you identify as rat.
I don't identify as a rat.
We are not rats.
We are not rats, Dad.
Come on. 2, 1, go!
Okay, have you a would you rather question? Would you rather fight a 1,000-pound duck or 1,001-pound ducks? Answer quickly now.
1,001-pound ducks.
Okay, nice. Max, your turn.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Last meal.
Steak.
Okay.
Would you if you had a mascot, would you rather have a recliner or a garden hose?
Garden hose.
Okay. If you could only speak one word for the rest of your life. If you could only speak one word for the rest of your life, What do you prefer? Meow or snarf? Answer quickly. Now. 3, 2, 1,
Meow.
go.
Meow.
Meow?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Meow, 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 meow.
Would you rather be trapped in a pit of spiders or snakes?
Spiders.
Okay.
Excluding me and Max, of course, right? Who is your idol?
Jesus.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys are close seconds.
Would you rather die? Would you rather die to a great white shark or a flaming hot volcano?
Thrown into the flaming hot
Shark.
volcano. Shark?
Wow.
Okay.
That's
Nice. I hope you enjoyed that rapid fire. Well, I do
I
have
did.
All right, so back to Patrick. Any closing words of wisdom?
yes.
So, for the boys, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
For the boys, your friends matter. Don't hang out with lowlifes. I don't technically have any regrets in life because everything made me who I am, stuff like that. But if I did, all the regrets I have come from me directly disobeying things that the Bible says not to do. And so I encourage you to read it sometime.
Okay.
So there's that. And then finally, this will probably be the hardest one ever. And I know from personal experience, but there is no one who wants better for you than your dad. And he's almost always right. And so listen to your dad.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
I know from personal experience.
All right.
Wow. That's great advice, Patrick. I love
Thank
all
you
of
for
that.
the advice.
So-
I'll take that into
Our bank account. No, I mean
not a bank
our
account.
brain.
Your bank account.
yes, I'll shove it in the backside of my brain for when I.
It's been a pleasure having you on, Patrick.
Yep.
We love you a ton. Obviously, you've been an incredible human being, very successful. We're really proud of what you've become and what you're going to do. And it's been just amazing having you on our GST Nation podcast.
Yep. Thank you for coming on to
Thank you.
GST Nation.
Hey.
We'll see you later.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe, like, comment, share. It really makes a difference for us. Thank you. Until next time.